Welcome to the show. My guest today is Tony Nwisi, who is going to be telling us all about his wealth seminars. Welcome to the show, Tony.
Hey Rita, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Go on, Tony. Tell us about these wealth seminars. What are they?
Well, thanks for it. It's a great question. The wealth seminars are, if you like, the Property Wealth Seminar Mark II. Initially, I used to do seminars focusing on property alone. But over the years, I found out that people were building assets, but were not taking care of protection. And so now I've revamped the seminar, which takes care of building assets, but also protection. In other words, when people acquire property, it's not enough to acquire property. You also need to be able to protect those properties using protection products.
Go on, tell us what sort of protection are they looking for?
Well, first off, I think people want to know about maybe how to acquire products, property, for instance, no money down, or with a pound, or with no deposit, etc. And that's what we've taught them before. Now, in terms of protection, we'll look at scenarios like what happens if you lose your job, for instance, Rita. You're an investor, you've acquired all these properties, and suddenly you lose your job. How do you pay the mortgage? How do you take care of that? Those kind of stuff.
Okay. You mentioned no money down. I know it's probably out of context, but that really did interest me. What did you mean by no money down or a pound for a property? What exactly is that?
Well, again, that's another good question. Investors don't buy property by putting down deposits. I think that's common knowledge now.
Okay.
It's
all cash up front, isn't it?
Well, yes, cash up front, but they do it in such a way that they get a deal.
Okay.
Now legally and properly speaking, you cannot buy property in England today without paying a deposit, or unless you pay cash.
Yeah.
But the point is that investors are still able to acquire property, lots and lots of property, by getting the discount. So overall, it becomes no money down. But there's strategies and techniques on how to do it, and we can't cover that tonight. Maybe another time we'll have a meeting, we can cover that. But there are strategies. We teach people how to buy property without deposit, how to buy property for a pound.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll get to learn a bit more about that. Now,
Yes.
you're talking about protection.
Yes.
How does your insurance policy protect, for example, a first-time buyer?
Well, the first-time buyer, just like any other buyer, anyone who takes out a mortgage, you have to know that their property is at risk if they do not maintain payments. That's the standard disclaimer that mortgage companies give to you. But what happens? How do people fund the properties? They fund it through their jobs, isn't it?
Of course, yeah.
So what happens to the property if, for instance, A, you lose your job, or B, someone drops dead, or C, someone has a serious illness whereby they are not able to work anymore.
Or even a debt problem.
Or even debt,
Yeah,
or they
yeah,
acquire massive debt. So those are kind of scenarios that previously the seminar did not cover, but now we're paying attention to these things because you have to serve the clients, if you like, a holistic menu. So we teach them how to acquire property without deposit, how to acquire property for a pound, as well as how to protect those assets from the natural mishaps that happen in life, if you like.
Okay, so you talked about protection for first-time buyers and for investors as well.
Yes.
Could you give us sort of a rundown of what types of insurance policies you actually sell to them? What are you trying to protect them from?
Well, obviously every client's different and their scenario is different, and that's why they need to see a financial advisor who would advise them individually on their own unique scenario. For instance, yes, we can help them, but if they don't come to us, they can go somewhere else. So you need to see a financial advisor. Financial advisor will sit the investor down and go through their portfolio or their investment and look at exactly where the problems are and the problems that the investor is trying to fix, and then help them devise solutions to meet their unique scenarios. So it's not a case of one size fits all. So because what Bob is going through and what James is going through are likely to be different. So that's what financial advisors do.
That all boils down to everybody's affordability.
Yes, exactly.
Test,
There's affordability test, and also there's the priority test.
Ah,
You know,
of
for
course,
instance, for you, what is priority to you may not be priority for Mr. Jones. You see
Okay.
what I'm saying? So
Okay.
you've got to look at all of that and then find a way to help each client in their unique scenario. You
Okay,
know.
so give us a few examples. So, what would I do if I was a single mother with 3 children,
Okay.
earning minimum wage,
Right.
and I've got a mortgage
Right.
to the tone of 100,000?
Right.
How would I be able to protect myself and ensure that I don't lose the roof over my head?
Well, that's a great question. It's a great question. A single mother with 2, 3 kids, and she has a mortgage. Well, instantly, if you look at that, you can tell that because she's a single mother, there's probably one income coming in into the family. And so, the question you ask yourself is, what happens to my children if that income doesn't come in? Is what I'm saying. So that's the first thing that single mom's going to be thinking about. What happens to my children if that income doesn't come in? How are they going to be able to cope financially? Because
Okay.
most people have more month at the end of the month, you know, than money. These
course,
days,
yeah.
the way it doesn't even pay the bills. You know, how much more if the pay packet is gone completely?
Yeah.
And so that's the first thing that mother's gonna be thinking about. You know, how do I take care of my children? What happens to my kids? You know, if she's not there. So, secondly, if she's not there, what happens to their home, their accommodation, the property that they own? You know, how is that going to be funded?
Yeah.
So that mom should definitely be looking at a life insurance policy to make sure that if something were to happen to her, then at least, at the very least, the home, the roof over the children's head
Protected.
is paid for. So
Right.
at least they can have a home and maybe have a little extra money also, obviously under trust, etc. But that's what that single mom's going to be looking at. First thing she'll be looking at,
Right,
obviously.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
How about if I was an investor
Yes.
and I'm currently erecting a block of flats and I need some kind of insurance. What would you
Yes.
sell to me then?
Well, again, not knowing the client particularly, that investor who's obviously borrowed a lot of money to build this block of flats, for instance, I bet you that money is secured on his home.
Probably,
You
yeah.
see what I'm saying? And so that's one of the major times when any investor or any client needs to seriously consider insurance. If that property is secured, that loan is secured on his home. That means that if that deal or the construction deal, if it goes belly up,
Yeah.
if it doesn't work, what do you think the bank is going to do?
Repossess the house.
They're going to repossess the
Yeah.
house straight away.
Yeah.
And what happens to Mrs. Jones and the 2, 3 children at home?
Yeah.
They're
that's
out
it.
on the streets.
Exactly.
You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So that investor instantly, once you take out a business loan secured on your home, you need to seriously see a financial advisor who will talk to you about how to make sure that that loan is protected and it doesn't impact your family. If something were to happen to you, you know, you name it, you know, death, you know, serious sickness, or fall down the ladder and the cost of, you know, putting the roof up, you know, or whatever, you know, so they need to be paying attention to that, absolutely.
Okay, so this is where you come in. So what you would be doing in effect is protecting the main home, which is secure, where the business is secured on. Is that what you're saying? Or you would
Well, the job of the financial advisor is to sit down with that client and find exactly how he would fund the loan if something were to happen to him.
right.
How would he
right.
pay back the bank? He may have other solutions in place, like maybe he may have bonds, he may have other security products, he may have maybe a pot of money somewhere, you know. So, but the job of the financial advisor is to let the investor know, you know, ask the critical questions. How would you take care of this? How would it impact your loved ones if that loan is secured on your family home, etc. So making sure that he's thinking that through and has a solution for that. But it's not necessary to tell him what to do, but to make sure he's
Give him
thinking
the
that
information,
through,
right.
give him the information, the guidance, and to make sure that he's thinking it through and that he's devising a solution. You know, because there are two aspects to wealth.
Right.
one is acquisition, and the second one is protection. So most entrepreneurs, like most investors,
Which are risk takers.
they are risk takers. Tell me about
Yes.
it. They are risk takers. They're dynamic people.
Yeah.
They're focused. They're driven people, and focus causes blindness.
Of course.
You see what I'm saying? So once you're focused in achieving your goal as an investor, or building that business, or acquiring those properties, that's all you're thinking about. You're not thinking about anything else. So
Show me the money.
You know what I mean? The focus on the money. Just show me the
Yeah.
money. But so the job of the financial advisor is to say, "Oh, hello, Mr. Jones. Just calm down. Let's take a look at what's behind you." You see what I'm saying? So what happens if this? What happens if that? What happens if that? So those things he needs to pay attention to make sure that he's plugged any gaps that may come up as a result of, when life happens.
It sounds like you've been doing it for a while, and a little birdie told me that you were known as Mr. Property.
Right.
How does this tie into the insurance?
Well, it ties in nicely. This is actually my first business. I started doing this about 18 years ago. But because I do so many property seminars, a lot of people don't know that I also am into protection.
Okay.
And so with a lot of changes in the market now, I decided to make that more common so that people are more aware. We can give the client a fuller service, a more sophisticated, a fuller menu, if you like.
Okay.
So properties are well and good. That's fantastic too for wealth creation, but the investor must also keep their eyes peeled on protection. That's very, very important. Well advised.
So how long have you been doing it then?
This is over 17, 18 years now.
Wow,
17,
you're
18
very
years.
experienced in that field.
Yes. I'm very experienced. I mean, there are other aspects of it, like making sure that your policy, for instance, is written under trust.
Okay.
Most people ask you, what do you mean by under trust? It simply means that it's, when people die, unfortunately, they still have to pay taxes.
Of course, the death tax, isn't it? Oh,
The death taxes.
something you can be sure of.
You can be
isn't it?
sure of, yeah, exactly. So in this country and most of the Western world, you're taxed from birth to death.
Exactly,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
And so, how do you provide for those obligations? Okay. And so most people don't think about it. They don't even think about death at all because it's kind of morbid idea. It's horrible thoughts. No one wants to think about it. So I promise you, the last thing they're thinking about is any taxes that will occur as a result of their death. But who picks up the tab? Who suffers for that? It's the surviving spouse.
Of course,
Most of the time,
the ones you leave behind.
the ones you leave behind, they're the ones who suffer when you don't think about those taxes. Imagine a man who's worked all his life. Mrs. Jones is at home. She's a stay-at-home mom, raising the kids, and dad's working, building all this wealth. And then something happens, and dad's gone, and suddenly, dad has made no arrangements for estate taxes, etc., or even to pay for the house. And then suddenly, the banks come in and repossessing the house. Building sites repossessing the house, and Mrs. Jones and the kids are now having to be out on the streets. That's not nice.
No.
That's not
Nobody
nice.
wants to be.
Nobody wants to. Exactly. Nobody wants to put their family in that scenario, do they?
So, can we take a break?
Okay.
He asked that at the last minute. Do you want to take a break?
No,
I didn't know how
that's
to
fine, that's
communicate. Welcome back. Tony, you were talking about estates. Tell us a bit more about that estate tax.
Thank you, Rita. That's a great question. Estate taxes, instantly, someone's going to suffer if you're not there. Either your spouse or the children you leave behind, they're going to suffer if you're not there. And so that's the time to be thinking about seeing a financial advisor to say, oh, please come and talk to me about what to do to make sure that my loved ones, if anything were to happen to me, number one, I can actually fund the funeral. That's the first thing.
Of course, yeah.
That's the
you're
first
right.
thing.
My mom started taking out, well, I think she's been paying to this funeral place £5 a month, I think, or something silly like that. But
Yes.
it's all paid off now.
Right.
So she's told us,
Yes.
when I go, that's
Yes.
it. You don't have to worry about
I mean,
anything, which
I
is
mean,
such a relief
it's
because
just-
it's expensive, you know.
Exactly. Oh, at least £10,000.
Yeah, yeah.
Most people are
easily.
shocked when they find out that the ground to put a body in is going to cost 10,000 above. It's something up to £20,000.
Wow.
And if you don't have it, you've got a problem there. Got a
So
problem.
definitely, if you own a business and you, or rather earning a sizable amount of salary, you
Yes.
should really be thinking about estate tax, because at the end of the day,
Yes, if you once you have a family, once there's going to be a consequence by your absence, once your absence is going to have a consequence, or your inability to earn money is going to have a consequence, i.e., you lose your job, or you fall sick, you know, or you're made redundant.
I was
So
just
you-
going to say redundancy.
redundancy,
as well, you know.
exactly. You know,
Yeah.
so you should be calling a financial advisor to come and advise you straight away on those things. And specifically on estate taxes, the question you asked me, with estate taxes, once you've accumulated, you feel that you have an estate, you know, you have a home, for instance, the value goes up, you know,
On a mortgage.
or on a mortgage or not. Even if
Oh,
you,
listen,
yes.
even if it's paid off,
Even if it's paid off, it's your estate.
the
What-
government will take, what is it,
Yes.
40% now? Or
About
something?
40%, correct,
Wow.
on your estate. Whether or not it's paid off is not the issue. The issue is that what's your estate worth? If your estate is worth $1 million, the government wants 40% of that. The taxpayer
400,000.
wants, that's 400,000 that goes to the government. You know,
It's
so
not fair. And that money's probably been taxed already, isn't it?
well, you know, that's a question for an accountant. I'm not an accountant, but a financial advisor. It may or may not have been. So, so people need to think about that. You know, once you acquire property or you build a bit of wealth, you have to think about estate tax. And one of the best ways to take care of that is, you know, you estimate that your estate is maybe worth $1 million, 40%, you know, is due in taxes. Then you want to take out a life insurance policy to the tune of your projected tax.
Worth. Okay. Oh, just for the tax.
Just the
Yeah,
tax. You
okay.
want to fund the tax.
Right.
You don't need to fund the estate. You want to fund the tax.
So you can just pay that off without.
So exactly. So
Yeah,
your family can just, so your trustees can pay off that the tax with the proceeds from the life insurance.
Okay. Now it all makes sense.
I see what I'm saying.
yeah.
So and then the family can keep 600,000, you know, or keep the whole of the money because the taxes are funded
taken care
through life insurance, so you can keep the whole $1 million.
Okay.
You know, and that gives your spouse and the children obviously a leg up, you know, and say they have a better tomorrow, if you like.
So to get this tax,
Yes.
does one have to go through the usual requirements, the criteria that like having medical tests done and affordability and proving your
Well,
income, all sorts of things, and
well, the taxes are due to the state, but to fund for the tax, you need to see a financial advisor. Okay? So you need to see a financial advisor who will advise you on your own unique
like
scenario.
you said, everyone is different.
Yeah, everyone's different. Everyone has different scenarios. But the point is that if you expect that your estate is going to be worth a handsome figure, let's say, right?
Yeah.
You've worked hard, you've made a lot of money, and you're living the life, okay? And you put your family in a nice, beautiful, cozy way, okay?
Yeah.
So you just need to remember, in the course of enjoying yourself, that if you were to kick
wanna
the
keep
bucket,
it like that,
you want to
yeah.
keep it like that, you know. If you were to kick the bucket tomorrow, some of that wealth may go to the tax man, and so you need to see a financial advisor as quickly as possible, who will advise you on your own unique scenario and how to provide for that. So that's very important, really.
Right.
Most people don't pay attention to that.
Okay. So you do wealth seminars and stuff.
Yes.
Where do you do them? Who do you approach?
Oh, I do them everywhere, lots of places. Many in churches. I get invited to churches all over the country. Been to, you know, Sweden, they've been to Ukraine, they've been to United States, and all over the country here. Because the churches have a lot of people in them, and they want to educate the people. They want to give them the benefit of the latest information, etc. And also groups of employees and companies and businesses.
Okay.
Businesses, I've done seminars in businesses, clubs, societies.
Yeah. Do you travel all over the country? Do you go international?
Yes, I travel over the country. I've been to Scotland, I've been to Newcastle, I've been to Liverpool. I've done a seminar in Manchester and Birmingham, and also abroad. Early on, yeah, absolutely. Because people do need to be educated on this. Many times people will spend most of their working life focusing on how to get a job, or how to build a business, or how to acquire wealth. That's their focus, and that's great, and that's how you build wealth. But in the course of that, people forget about protecting what they have acquired.
Yeah.
And so we've seen too many stories of people who lost what they acquired through 20, 30, 40 years of hard work.
Yeah.
Just because no protection. They didn't think it through. They didn't see a financial advisor. They didn't think about how to protect what they have. And that's very, very important. Your audience will do well to pay attention to that.
Yeah. Well, it's been very, very informational, I must say, Tony.
Yes.
And I hope our audience has taken something away from the show that they can at least benefit from.
Yes.
Thank you for being here with us.
Yes, thank you, Rita.
So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope this has answered some of your questions, but don't forget, if you do have any questions or even comments, please don't forget to visit our website, TonyNwisi.com, or you can catch us on Facebook at The Tony Nwisi Show. Tony Nwisi, thank you.
Thank you, Rita.